Anew tonight, the Department of Corrections has set an execution date now for a Georgia death row inmate. 44-year-old Travis Hitson is scheduled to die by lethal injection February 17th. Hitson was convicted for the murder of a Navy seaman, Conway Utterbeck, back in 1993. Now, this announcement comes as Georgia prepares to execute the state's oldest death row inmate tonight. The Board of Pardons and Paroles denied clemency for 72-year-old Brandon Jones last night. According to the Death Penalty Information Center, in 2015, Georgia carried out 5 of the total 28 executions in the U.S. in 2015. That's the highest number since 1987 for Georgia, when the state also had 5 executions. Tonight's execution will be the first in Georgia for this new year of 2016. Joining me now is attorney Pate to talk more about it. Brandon Jones murdered a convenience store manager back in 1979. 2 different juries sentenced him to death, the first time and then on appeal the second time. His partner in crime has already been executed. That happened in 1985. So you say still, despite the fact that 2 juries have sentenced this man to death, that his execution would be absolutely unnecessary. Why?
Well, I think so. I mean, even the last jury that sentenced him to death, that was almost 20 years ago. If you look at a case these days where someone is charged and later convicted of killing someone in the commission of an armed robbery of a store or retail establishment, they're not getting the death penalty. If he were convicted today, he would not be sentenced to death.
The jurors heard that argument that this is, an overreach, that he shouldn't have been sentenced this harshly, but they sentenced him to death anyway. So let's talk about the 25 or so states that still have the death penalty. Is there anything that sets Georgia apart with its death penalty law here?
Well, I think Georgia has been particularly, I wouldn't say abusive, but not proportional in the way we've been carrying out executions. I mean, if you look at recent history, we have executed Troy Davis, who was possibly innocent of the charges. We executed Warren Lee Hill, who was no question mentally ill by all experts. Everyone agreed on that. We executed Kelly Gissendaner, who was not even the person that killed someone. And now we're executing a 72, almost 73-year-old man for a crime he committed almost 40 years ago. So I think that makes us an outlier at this point.
Take a look at these numbers here. An exclusive 11 Alive USA Today poll shows 60% of Georgians support capital punishment. That is a lot. And you have to take that into consideration as far as laws here in the state of Georgia. So does repealing the death penalty have any place in criminal justice reform here in Georgia? And do opponents of capital punishment here in Georgia have any prayer at all?
Oh, I don't think so with the legislature. I don't think Georgia is ready now or will be ready anytime soon to repeal the death penalty. But what you are seeing in Georgia and other states is it's not being asked for as much and it's not being given as much. This year we've executed more people than we have in a long time, but we have not imposed the death penalty nearly as much as we have in the past. In fact, I cannot think of one death penalty verdict in 2015 in the state of Georgia. So while we're trying to catch up with sentences that were imposed 20+ years ago, we're not seeing new death penalty cases. So while you're not going to see a legislative repeal of the death penalty, it may die a slow death in Georgia as it's dying in other states around the country.
Fading right now. Brandon Jones set to be executed at 7 o'clock tonight. What are his attorneys doing right now?
Well, I hope they're petitioning with the United States Supreme Court for a last-minute kind of Hail Mary appeal, but the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals denied his petition earlier today, so unfortunately, I think his chances are up.
All right. It's always good to see you, Paige.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Jeff?